The gun went off before Amanda could scream. She watched the bullet tear through the shoulder of the man who'd been reaching for her across the conference table, his blood spraying across the white roses that decorated the peace summit. Jungkook's arm was still extended, smoke rising from his pistol, his face carved from stone as chaos erupted around them. "Get down!" he roared, throwing himself over Amanda as the room exploded into gunfire. This wasn't how today was supposed to go. 3 months ago, Amanda had been a terrified bride forced into marriage with Seoul's most dangerous crime lord. Now, as bullets shattered the crystal chandeliers above them and bodies hit the marble floor, she realized she'd become something far more complicated than a victim or a wife. She'd become a player in a game where the stakes were measured in blood. But let's rewind. Let's go back to how they got here. 3 months after their wedding, Amanda Kim stood in the private training room of Jungkook's penthouse, her hands wrapped in tape, facing down a man twice her size. His name was Chen, one of Jungkook's most trusted enforcers, and he wasn't going easy on her. "Again," Jungkook's voice cut through the room like a blade. He sat in the shadows, watching, always watching. Amanda's ribs ached from where Chen had landed a blow, but she steadied her breathing the way she'd been taught. Duck, pivot, strike. Her fist connected with Chen's jaw, and for the first time in 2 hours of training, she saw approval flicker in Jungkook's eyes. "Better," he said, standing. "But in a real fight, that hit would have gotten you killed. You're still hesitating." "I'm not hesitating," Amanda shot back, unwrapping her hands. "I'm thinking. Thinking gets you dead." Jungkook moved closer, and even after 3 months of marriage, his presence still made her pulse quicken. "When someone comes at you, you don't think, you react." Amanda met his gaze. "Is that what you do? Just react?" Something flickered across his face, too fast to read. Every day. The truth was, their marriage had evolved into something neither of them had anticipated. After that night when Amanda had confronted him in nothing but a towel, after he'd declared her his equal in front of his entire organization, things had shifted. Jungkook still kept parts of himself locked away, still disappeared for days on business he wouldn't discuss. But he'd also started teaching her, training her, preparing her for a world she'd been thrown into without warning. And Amanda? She was learning fast. "There's a gala tomorrow night," Jungkook said, tossing her a towel. "The annual summit. Every major family in Seoul will be there." Amanda's stomach tightened. She'd heard about the summit from the other women in the organization, the wives and daughters who painted their faces and played their roles. It was where alliances were forged and broken, where respect was earned or destroyed. "And you want me there," she said. "I need you there." Jungkook's jaw clenched. "They need to see that you're not just some girl I married to settle a debt. They need to see my wife, my partner." "Your weapon," Amanda added quietly. He didn't deny it. That night, Amanda couldn't sleep. She stood on the balcony of their penthouse, looking out over Seoul's glittering skyline when she felt Jungkook's presence behind her. "You don't have to do this," he said, his voice softer than usual. "I can tell them you're sick. Make an excuse." Amanda turned to face him. In the moonlight, without the armor of his tailored suits and cold commands, he looked almost vulnerable. "Why would I do that?" "Because tomorrow night won't be easy." He stepped closer. "They'll test you, push you, try to find your weakness. Then I'll show them I don't have any." Jungkook's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. These moments still surprised her when the monster everyone feared revealed glimpses of the man underneath. "You're too brave for your own good." "I learned from the best," she whispered. His lips brushed her forehead, a gesture so tender it made her chest ache. "Get some sleep, Amanda. Tomorrow we go to war." If you're loving this story so far, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling me what you think will happen at the gala. Trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. The gala was held in a mansion that made Jungkook's penthouse look modest. Crystal chandeliers dripped from ceilings, painted with classical frescoes, and waiters in white gloves circulated with champagne that probably cost more than Amanda's father's debts. Amanda wore a dress Jungkook had chosen, emerald green silk that hugged her curves and made her dark skin glow. She'd learned to armor herself in beauty, to weaponize the very things that made her different in this world of pale faces and old money. "Remember," Jungkook murmured as they entered the ballroom, his hand at the small of her back. "Stay close to me. Don't accept drinks from anyone else, and if someone asks you a question you don't want to answer, just smile." "You make it sound like I'm going into battle." His dark eyes met hers. "You are." The stares started immediately. Amanda felt them like physical touches, dozens of eyes tracking her movement across the room. She heard the whispers too, even though they tried to be subtle. "That's her? The girl from Nigeria? I heard her father sold her to pay off gambling debts. What is Jungkook thinking bringing her here?" Amanda kept her spine straight and her face serene, but inside rage burned. She'd known this would happen, known they'd reduce her to nothing more than her skin color and her origins, but knowing didn't make it hurt less. "Mrs. Kim." A woman glided toward them, her smile sharp as a knife. "How lovely to finally meet you. I'm Sun-hee Park, wife of the Park family head." Amanda recognized the name. The Parks controlled the gambling operations in Gangnam, and according to the briefings Jungkook had given her, they'd been trying to expand into Kim territory for years. "Mrs. Park," Amanda said, matching her smile. "What a beautiful home." "Oh, this isn't our home," Sun-hee laughed. "This belongs to the Choi family. We're all just guests here." Her eyes raked over Amanda's dress. "That's quite a bold color choice. Very vibrant." The insult was barely veiled. Amanda felt Jungkook tense beside her, but she squeezed his hand gently. This was her fight. "Thank you," Amanda said sweetly. "I thought it would be refreshing to bring some life to the room. Everything was looking a bit washed out." Sun-hee's smile froze. Around them a few people chuckled. Jungkook's hand tightened on Amanda's waist, and when she glanced at him, she saw pride burning in his eyes. But the tests were just beginning. Throughout the night, Amanda was questioned, prodded, examined like a specimen under glass. They asked about her family, her education, how she'd met Jungkook. Each question was a trap, designed to expose her as an outsider, as unworthy. "I heard you were quite the surprise," an older man said, his face flushed with alcohol. Jungkook's father must be rolling in his grave, knowing his son married a... "Careful." Jungkook's voice was deadly quiet. "Finish that sentence, and I'll finish you." The man paled and stumbled away. Amanda touched Jungkook's arm. "I can handle them." "I know you can," he said. "But that doesn't mean you should have to." It was close to midnight when things took a darker turn. Amanda had excused herself to the restroom, flanked by two of Jungkook's guards. She'd just finished washing her hands when the lights went out. "Stay close to Mrs. Kim," one guard barked, but his words were cut off by a wet, choking sound. Amanda's training kicked in. She dropped low just as Jungkook had taught her and felt something whistle over her head. Her hand found the small blade she'd hidden in her dress. Another of Jungkook's gifts. The emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in red. Both guards were down, throats cut. And standing in the doorway was a man Amanda didn't recognize, but his intent was crystal clear. "Mrs. Kim," he said, pulling a gun, "you're coming with me." "I don't think so." Amanda's voice was steady, even as her heart hammered. She gripped the blade tighter, calculating distances, remembering everything Jungkook had drilled into her. The man laughed. "You think that little knife scares me? Put it down, and maybe I won't hurt you too badly." "Maybe," Amanda said. "You should have brought more men." She moved, not toward him but sideways, using the stall doors as cover. The man fired, but she was already rolling, coming up behind him. Her blade found the back of his knee, and he screamed, going down hard. "Amanda!" Jungkook burst through the door, gun drawn, his face a mask of fury and fear. He took in the scene, the dead guards, the wounded attacker, Amanda standing with blood on her hands. and something shifted in his expression. "I'm okay," she said, even though she was shaking. "I'm okay." Jungkook crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. "You're okay," he repeated, like he was trying to convince himself. Then he turned to the man on the ground. "Who sent you?" The man spat blood. "You think you can parade her around like a queen? She's made you weak, Kim. Everyone can see it." Jungkook's gun pressed against the man's temple. "Who? Sent. You." "Go to hell." The gunshot echoed in the small space. Amanda flinched but didn't look away. She'd learned that in this world, you didn't get the luxury of innocence. "We're leaving," Jungkook said, his hand finding hers. "Now." But as they rushed toward the exit, alarms began to blare. More gunshots rang out in the ballroom. Whatever was happening, it wasn't just about Amanda. This was bigger. They found the ballroom in chaos. Bodies littered the floor. Families that had been laughing and drinking an hour ago were now barricaded behind overturned tables, returning fire against masked attackers who'd stormed the building. "This is a coup," Jungkook said, his face grim. "Someone's trying to take out all the families at once. Before you find out what happens next, smash that like button if you're on the edge of your seat. And comment below who you think is behind the attack. Let's see who's paying attention." Jungkook pulled Amanda behind a marble column as bullets chewed up the floor where they'd been standing. "We need to get to the safe room. It's in the east wing." "What about the others?" Amanda asked, watching people scramble for cover. "They're not my concern. You are." He grabbed her hand. "Stay low, stay quiet, and for God's sake, stay alive." They moved through the mansion like ghosts, Jungkook leading with his gun drawn, Amanda right behind him. They'd almost reached the east wing when they heard crying. A little girl, maybe 7 years old, was huddled in an alcove, her dress torn, her face streaked with tears and blood that wasn't hers. Amanda stopped. "Jungkook." "No," he said immediately, reading her intention. We can't leave her. Amanda, if we stop, we die. Then we die." Amanda pulled away from him and went to the girl, crouching down. "Hey, sweetheart. What's your name?" "Miji," the girl whimpered. "I can't find my mommy." "We're going to help you find her, okay?" Amanda looked back at Jungkook, her eyes pleading. He stared at her for a long moment, something warring in his expression. Then he cursed under his breath and came over. "Fine, but we move fast." He scooped up the girl, and they continued toward the safe room. They'd just turned a corner when 3 masked men stepped out, guns raised. "Well, well," one of them said. "Jungkook Kim himself, and with the wife and a kid. This just got interesting." Jungkook set Miji down gently, pushing her behind him. "Walk away," he said quietly, "while you still can." The men laughed. "You're outnumbered, Kim. Put down the gun, and maybe we'll let the girls live." What happened next took less than 5 seconds. Jungkook moved like water, like violence personified. His first shot took out the man on the left. His second took the one on the right. The third man got a shot off, but Jungkook had already moved, and the bullet meant for his chest hit his shoulder instead. He didn't even flinch. His third shot ended the threat. "Jungkook!" Amanda rushed to him as he sagged against the wall, blood soaking through his jacket. "I'm fine," he gritted out. "Just a graze." "That's not a graze. That's a hole in your shoulder." "Then we better hurry." He pushed off the wall, his face pale but determined. "Come on." They made it to the safe room with Miji, along with a handful of other survivors. Jungkook sealed the door, and only then did he let Amanda examine his wound. "This needs a hospital," she said, pressing her dress against the bleeding. "Later." He caught her hand. "Are you hurt?" "No, but you are." "I've had worse." His thumb brushed her knuckles. "You did good out there, Amanda. Better than good." "I stabbed a man in the knee and watched you kill 3 others," she said, her voice hollow. "I don't feel good." Jungkook pulled her close with his good arm. "That's how I know you're still human. The day it stops bothering you is the day you should worry." Little Miji tugged on Amanda's dress. "Is the bad man going to protect us?" Amanda almost laughed. Yeah, sweetie, the bad man is going to protect us. It took 2 hours for Jungkook's reinforcements to secure the building. When they finally emerged from the safe room, the mansion looked like a war zone. 23 people were dead. Dozens more were injured, and Minji's mother was among the dead. Amanda held the little girl as she cried, making promises she wasn't sure she could keep. "We'll take care of you, I promise. You're not alone." Jungkook watched them, something unreadable in his eyes. Later, in the car on the way to the hospital, he said, "We can't keep her." "I know," Amanda said quietly, "but we can make sure she goes somewhere safe." "Amanda," he turned to her, "in this world, there is no safe. There's only degrees of dangerous. Then maybe we need to change the world." He looked at her like she'd grown a second head. "You can't change this world. It's been this way for generations." "Someone has to try," Amanda said. "Or what's the point of any of this?" Jungkook didn't answer, but his hand found hers in the darkness of the car and held on tight. The next 3 weeks were a blur of funerals and meetings, of alliances reformed and vendettas sworn. The attack on the Gala had been orchestrated by a coalition of smaller families trying to eliminate the major powers all at once. They'd failed, but barely. The underworld of Seoul was shaken to its core. And in the middle of it all, Amanda discovered she was pregnant. She stared at the test in the bathroom of their penthouse, her hands shaking. Positive. Undeniably, unmistakably positive. This shouldn't have been possible. They'd been careful. Mostly careful. There'd been that night after the gala, when Jungkook had nearly died, when they'd both needed to feel alive, when fear and adrenaline had burned away every barrier between them, and they'd come together with a desperation that bordered on violence. And now there was this, a tiny cluster of cells that would become a person. Their person. Amanda didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so she did both. She didn't tell Jungkook right away. For 2 weeks, she carried the secret like a talisman, trying to figure out what it meant. In their world, a child was both a blessing and a curse. An heir, yes, but also a target. Another piece on the board that enemies could use. But it was also hope. The possibility of something beyond blood and business. A future that might look different than the past. She was still trying to find the words when everything fell apart. It started with a phone call. Amanda was in the study reviewing documents for one of Jungkook's legitimate businesses when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then some instinct made her pick up. "Hello? Amanda Kim." The voice was male, accented, unfamiliar. "How nice to finally speak with you. Who is this?" "My name is Victor Chen. You may not know me, but I know everything about you." Amanda's blood ran cold. Victor Chen. She'd heard the name in whispered conversations, had seen Jungkook's face go hard when it was mentioned. Chen controlled the port operations, and he'd been one of the families making moves to absorb the Kim territory. "What do you want?" Amanda kept her voice steady. "I have something that belongs to you," Chen said. "Or rather, someone. Her name is Maya. Pretty girl. Works at that coffee shop you used to visit before you became Mrs. Kim." The room tilted. Maya. Her friend from her old life, one of the few people who'd reached out after Amanda's forced marriage. They'd met for coffee twice, just brief moments of normalcy in Amanda's new chaotic existence. "If you hurt her," Amanda started. "Then what?" Chen laughed. "You'll have your husband kill me, please? I'm counting on it. Here's what's going to happen, Mrs. Kim. You're going to come to the address I'm about to send you, alone, unarmed. If I see any of Kim's men, if I even suspect you've told him about this call, Maya dies. And it won't be quick." "Why are you doing this?" "Because Jungkook Kim loves you," Chen said simply. "And love makes men stupid, makes them vulnerable. You're going to help me prove that." The call ended. A text message arrived with an address in the warehouse district. Amanda sat frozen, her mind racing. She should tell Jungkook. That was the smart play, the safe play. But if Chen was watching, if he had people inside Jungkook's organization. She thought of Maya's smile, her kindness. Maya didn't deserve to die because Amanda had been dragged into this world. And she thought of the life growing inside her, barely the size of a grain of rice. What kind of mother would she be if she couldn't protect the people she cared about? Amanda made her decision. She left a note for Jungkook, vague enough that he wouldn't panic immediately, but specific enough that he'd know where to look if she didn't come back. Then she took one of the cars from the garage, a gun she barely knew how to use, and drove toward the warehouse district. Are you kidding me right now? Drop a comment if you think Amanda's making the right choice or if she's about to get herself killed. And subscribe if you want to see how this ends. The warehouse was exactly the kind of place where bad things happened in movies. Rusted metal, broken windows, puddles of water that reflected the flickering streetlights. Amanda parked the car a block away and walked the rest of the distance, her hand on the gun in her jacket. "Mrs. Kim?" Chen's voice echoed from inside the warehouse. "So glad you could make it. And alone, as requested. Very brave. Or very stupid." Amanda stepped through the doorway. The warehouse was mostly empty, just a few shipping containers and a lot of shadows. Chen stood in the center, flanked by 4 men with guns, and tied to a chair between them was Maya, her face bruised and swollen, tape over her mouth. "Let her go," Amanda said. "I'm here. That's what you wanted." "Oh, I'm going to let her go," Chen said. "Eventually. But first, we're going to have a conversation about your husband." "I'm not telling you anything. You won't have to." Chen pulled out a phone. "See, we've been recording this whole thing, streaming it live to a very exclusive audience. Your husband is watching right now. Aren't you, Kim?" Amanda's stomach dropped. "And now he gets to make a choice," Chen continued. "Does he come save you and walk into an obvious trap? Or does he stay safe and let you die? Either way, I win. Either way, I prove that Jungkook Kim is finished." "You're insane," Amanda said. "I'm practical." Chen moved closer. "This world doesn't have room for men who love their wives more than power. Your husband has gone soft, Mrs. Kim. And soft men don't survive." Behind Chen, Maya's eyes were wide with terror. Amanda looked at her friend, at this innocent person caught up in a nightmare, and felt something crystallize inside her. She'd spent 3 months learning to fight, to think like these men, to survive in their world. But she'd never stopped being Amanda. She'd never stopped caring about the people who couldn't defend themselves. "You're wrong about one thing," Amanda said quietly. "Oh? What's that?" "You said I came alone." Amanda smiled. "I lied." The explosion shook the warehouse as the containers detonated. Not enough to bring the building down, but enough to create chaos. Jungkook had taught her many things in 3 months, including how to rig a basic distraction. She'd arrived an hour early, planted the explosives, and waited. In the confusion, Amanda moved. She shot one of Chen's men, missed the second but got close enough that he flinched. Maya toppled sideways in her chair, and Amanda grabbed her, cutting her bonds with the knife she'd hidden in her boot. "Run!" she screamed at Maya, but Chen had recovered faster than she'd anticipated. His hand clamped on Amanda's hair, yanking her back, the gun pressed against her temple. "Clever," he hissed, but not clever enough. Then Jungkook was there. He came through the smoke like an avenging angel, his face a mask of cold fury. His first shot took out Chen's remaining men. His second shot shattered Chen's knee, and the man went down screaming. "Amanda," Jungkook said, not taking his eyes off Chen. "Take Maya, get out!" "Jungkook, now!" Amanda grabbed Maya and ran. Behind her she heard Chen's screams escalate, then cut off abruptly. She didn't look back. Outside, Jungkook's men had surrounded the warehouse. They whisked Maya away to safety while Amanda stood in the rain, shaking, waiting for Jungkook to emerge. When he did, there was blood on his hands. His face was expressionless as he walked to her. "That was the stupidest thing you've ever done," he said quietly. "I know." "You could have died." "I know." "You should have told me." "I know," Amanda's voice broke. I know, okay. I know I was stupid and reckless, and I could have gotten us both killed, but I couldn't let Maya die because of me. I couldn't. Jungkook pulled her into his arms. You're safe, he murmured into her hair. That's all that matters. You're safe. Amanda clung to him, breathing in his scent, feeling his heartbeat against her cheek. And in that moment, with the rain falling and sirens wailing in the distance, she knew she had to tell him. I'm pregnant, she whispered. Jungkook went completely still. What? I'm pregnant. About 6 weeks, I think. She pulled back to look at his face. I was going to tell you, but then Chen called, and everything happened so fast. You're pregnant, he repeated, his voice strange. You're carrying my child. Yes. His hands came up to cup her face, and Amanda saw something she'd never seen before in Jungkook's eyes. Fear. Pure, undiluted fear. We can't, he said hoarsely. Amanda, we can't bring a child into this world. It's too dangerous. They'll use it against us. I know, Amanda said. But it's too late. It's already happening. Jungkook's forehead dropped to hers. What have we done? Over the next month, everything changed. Jungkook became even more paranoid, even more protective. He hired additional security, moved them to a safe house, limited Amanda's movements. She hated it, but understood it. And slowly, cautiously, he began to let himself hope. We could leave, he said one night as they lay in bed, his hand on her still flat stomach. Take the money, disappear. Start over somewhere no one knows our names. You'd give up your empire? Amanda asked. For you? For this? His hand pressed gently. Yes. Amanda didn't answer, but she knew it was a fantasy. Men like Jungkook didn't get to retire. This world didn't let people leave. But she let him dream just for a moment. The peace summit was supposed to be different. After the massacre at the Gala, the families had agreed to a new meeting, this time on neutral ground with security provided by a third party. It was meant to establish new rules, new boundaries, to prevent the kind of all-out war that would destroy them all. Jungkook didn't want to go, but his absence would be seen as weakness, and weakness was death in their world. I'll be fine, Amanda assured him, though she was 3 months pregnant now, just starting to show. It's a peace summit. What could go wrong? Those words would haunt her. The summit was held in a hotel conference room, all steel and glass and modern architecture. Representatives from every major family sat around a massive table, with their spouses and advisors seated in a gallery behind them. Amanda sat in the gallery, flanked by Jungkook's security. She felt exposed despite the guards, despite the metal detectors everyone had passed through. Something felt wrong, but she couldn't pinpoint what. The meeting started civilly enough. Discussions of territory, of operations, of how to prevent another incident like the Gala. Boring business that made Amanda's mind wander. She was thinking about baby names, of all things, when the first shot rang out. That's where we started. That's how Amanda found herself on the floor with Jungkook's body covering hers, with bullets flying and people dying and everything falling apart. The security that was supposed to be neutral, compromised, the weapons that shouldn't have been in the building. Smuggled in days ago. This wasn't a random attack. This was orchestrated, precise, meant to end the major families permanently. Stay down, Jungkook commanded, his gun firing in controlled bursts. Around them, the other families were doing the same, former enemies now fighting side by side just to survive. Amanda felt wetness spreading across her dress. For a confused moment she thought she'd been shot. Then she looked down and saw the blood spreading between her legs, and she understood. No, she whispered. No, no, no. Jungkook saw it too. His face went white. Amanda, I'm losing it, she said, her voice breaking. Jungkook, I'm losing the baby. Time seemed to slow down. Bullets were still flying, people were still screaming. But all Amanda could focus on was the life draining out of her, the future dying before it had a chance to begin. Jungkook made a choice. He grabbed Amanda, hauled her into his arms and ran. Bullets chased them, and she heard him grunt as one found his leg, but he didn't stop. He carried her through the carnage, through the bodies, until they burst through a side door, into a stairwell. "Hold on," he kept saying. "Just hold on, Amanda." But she couldn't. By the time they reached the street, by the time his men got them to a hospital, it was too late. The baby was gone. If you're still watching, if you've made it this far through this heartbreak, leave a comment letting me know you're here. This story isn't over yet. Not by a long shot. Amanda woke up in a hospital room 3 days later. Jungkook was in a chair beside her bed, his leg in a cast, his face haggard from lack of sleep. "Hey," he said softly when he saw her eyes open. "It's gone," Amanda said. Not a question. She could feel the emptiness inside her. "Yeah." His hand found hers. "I'm sorry. God, Amanda, I'm so sorry." "How many dead?" she asked. 42 at the summit. Another dozen from injuries after. He paused. "We found who orchestrated it. The Chen family. Victor's brother, actually. He wanted revenge for what I did to Victor." Amanda closed her eyes. All of this death and pain because of her. Because she'd tried to save Maya. Because she'd existed in a world that didn't want her. "They're going to pay," Jungkook said quietly. "I'm going to burn their entire family to the ground." "And then what?" Amanda's eyes opened. "Then someone comes after us for revenge, and the cycle continues forever." "What else is there?" Jungkook asked helplessly. Amanda sat up slowly, feeling the ache in her body, the hollowness in her chest where hope used to be. There's breaking the cycle, there's ending this once and for all. Over the next 3 months, Amanda changed. The woman who'd been afraid, who'd clung to her humanity like a lifeline, began to let it go piece by piece. She attended the meetings now, sat at Jungkook's side instead of behind him. She learned the intricacies of their business, the leverage points, the weaknesses. And she planned. "The Chen family has assets in shipping, gambling and loan sharking," she told Jungkook one night, spreading papers across their dining table. "But their real power comes from their political connections. Take those away, and they're just another small-time operation." Jungkook studied the documents she'd compiled. "How do you propose we do that?" Amanda smiled, and it was nothing like the smiles she'd given him in the beginning. This smile was cold, calculated, dangerous. "We give the politicians someone else to be afraid of, someone more powerful than the Chens, someone who's willing to do what needs to be done." "You," Jungkook realized. "Us," Amanda corrected. "We do this together, or we don't do it at all." The operation took 6 weeks to execute. First, they systematically exposed the Chen family's political connections, leaking evidence of corruption to media outlets that couldn't be traced back to them. Politicians scrambled to distance themselves, cutting ties with the Chens to save their own skins. Then they went after the Chen assets. Not violently, but financially. Hostile takeovers, market manipulation, legal warfare that bled them dry without firing a single shot. And finally, when the Chen family was weak and desperate, Amanda walked into their headquarters unarmed and unafraid. "My name is Amanda Kim," she told the room full of Chen family members. 3 months ago, your family murdered my unborn child. Today I'm here to offer you a choice." The acting head of the family, a woman named Chen, glared at her. "You come here, to our home, and make demands?" "Not demands," Amanda said. "Options. Option 1, you continue this war. You try to rebuild, come after us again, and I promise you I will destroy everything you love, your family, your legacy, your name. I will erase the Chens from history." "And option 2, Suyin asked. "You work for me." Amanda's voice was calm, reasonable. "You keep your operations, your territory, your pride, but you answer to the Kim family. You become part of our organization instead of our enemy." "You're insane," Suyin spat. "We would never—" "Your family is dying," Amanda interrupted. "Your political connections are gone. Your assets are frozen. You have maybe 6 months before you can't make payroll, before your own people turn on you. I'm offering you survival. I suggest you take it. The room erupted in argument, but Amanda waited patiently. She'd learned from Jungkook that power wasn't always about violence. Sometimes it was about knowing when you'd already won. 3 hours later, Chen knelt before Amanda Kim and swore loyalty to the Kim family. Jungkook was waiting when Amanda returned to the penthouse. She'd expected him to be pleased, maybe proud. Instead, he looked troubled. "You've changed," he said quietly. "I had to," Amanda replied. "This world doesn't let you stay soft." "I know, that's what worries me." He crossed to her, taking her hands. "I've watched you become everything I am, everything I feared you'd have to become. And I don't know if I saved you or destroyed you." Amanda looked at him. This man who'd been her captor, her teacher, her partner, and now her equal in every terrible way. "You didn't destroy me," she said. "This world did. You just gave me the tools to survive it." "Is survival enough?" Jungkook asked. "Is this all we are now?" Amanda stepped closer, placing her hand over his heart. "We're still us. We're still the people who chose each other when we could have walked away, the people who fought for each other when it would have been easier to let go." "We lost our child," Jungkook said hoarsely. "I know." Amanda's voice cracked. "I know, and I think about it every day. But if we let that break us, if we let this world turn us into monsters who feel nothing, then they've won. The people who killed our baby, the people who tried to destroy us, they've won." Jungkook pulled her close, and for the first time since the hospital, Amanda let herself cry. Not the composed, controlled tears she'd allowed herself in private, but deep, wrenching sobs that shook her entire body. "I wanted to be a mother," she whispered against his chest. "I wanted to hold our baby and tell them stories and keep them safe. I wanted something good to come from all this darkness." "I know," Jungkook murmured, his own voice thick with emotion. "I wanted that too. I didn't know how much until it was gone." They stood there in the darkness of their penthouse, two people who'd been forged in fire and blood, holding on to each other like they were the only real thing left in a world of shadows. "What do we do now?" Amanda asked eventually. Jungkook pulled back to look at her face. "We keep living, we keep fighting, and maybe, someday, we make this world a little less terrible than it was when we entered it." "That's a lot to ask," Amanda said. "You asked me once what the point was if we didn't try to change things," Jungkook reminded her. "I'm ready to try now, if you are." Amanda thought about the girl she'd been 6 months ago, terrified and powerless, sold to pay her father's debts. She thought about who she'd become, a woman who could walk into an enemy stronghold and make them kneel without firing a shot. And she thought about who she wanted to be. Not the victim, not the monster. Something in between. Something new. "I'm ready," she said. The next 6 months saw the Kim organization transform. With the Chen family under their control and other families watching nervously, Amanda and Jungkook began to reshape Seoul's underworld. They started small, mandating that no one under 18 could be used for operations, cutting ties with human trafficking networks, redirecting some of their profits to legitimate businesses that could employ people trying to leave the criminal life. It wasn't redemption. They were still criminals, still responsible for violence and suffering. But it was something. A step toward the possibility that power could be used for more than just accumulation of more power. "The other families are getting restless," Jungkook said one morning, reviewing reports. "They think we've gone soft." Amanda, pouring coffee in the kitchen, smiled. "Let them think that. Let them make a move. We're ready." And they were. When the Park family tried to stage a coup, thinking the Kims had been weakened by their new policies, Amanda and Jungkook crushed the rebellion in 72 hours. Not with indiscriminate violence, but with surgical precision. Removing the leadership while offering the foot soldiers a choice. Join us or leave Seoul forever. Most chose to join. Word spread that the Kim family was different now. Harsh but fair. Dangerous but not needlessly cruel. And slowly, grudgingly, the other families began to fall in line. "You're building an empire," one of Jungkook's oldest associates said during a meeting. Not just a criminal organization, an actual empire. Amanda exchanged a glance with Jungkook. We're building something that might last, she corrected. Something that doesn't eat itself alive every generation. It was almost a year after their wedding when Amanda stood on the balcony of their penthouse and realized she was happy. Not in the simple way she'd been happy before her world fell apart, but in a deeper, more complex way. She'd been broken and rebuilt into something stronger. She'd lost things she could never get back, but gained things she'd never imagined. Jungkook joined her on the balcony, wrapping his arms around her waist. What are you thinking about? Everything, Amanda said. Nothing. Us. That's a lot of ground to cover, he teased gently. Amanda turned in his arms to face him. Do you remember the first time we stood out here? You told me that tomorrow we'd go to war. I remember. Were you right? Amanda asked. Is that what we've been doing? Fighting a war? Jungkook considered this. Yes, but maybe not the war I thought we'd be fighting. What do you mean? I thought we'd be fighting them, Jungkook gestured to the city spread out below them. The other families, our enemies, everyone trying to take what we'd built. But the real war was inside, fighting to stay human in a world that wants to make us monsters. Amanda rose on her tiptoes to kiss him, soft and sweet. Are we winning? I think so, Jungkook murmured against her lips. As long as I have you, I think we might actually win. Before we wrap up, I need you to do something for me. If this story touched you, if Amanda and Jungkook's journey meant something to you, drop a comment telling me what you want to see in part 3. Should they have another chance at a family? Should new threats emerge? Let me know below. 3 weeks later, Amanda was in a meeting with representatives from the Japanese Yakuza when she felt the nausea hit. She excused herself, made it to the bathroom just in time, and stared at her pale face in the mirror. No, it couldn't be. But when she took the test that evening, it was positive. Again. Despite everything, despite the odds, despite the loss they'd already endured, she was pregnant again. This time, Amanda didn't wait to tell Jungkook. She found him in his office and simply showed him the test. His face went through a series of expressions: shock, fear, and then something that looked almost like wonder. Are you sure? As sure as a plastic stick can make me, Amanda said. She waited for him to tell her it was too dangerous, that they couldn't do this again, that the risk was too great. Instead, Jungkook pulled her into his arms and held her like she was made of glass. Okay, he whispered. Okay, we can do this. You're not going to tell me it's a bad idea? Amanda asked, surprised. It's probably a terrible idea, Jungkook admitted. But when has that stopped us? He pulled back to look at her face. We're stronger now than we were before. We have more control, more resources, more people loyal to us. And this time, I won't let anything happen to you or our child. I swear it. Amanda wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this time would be different. But she'd learned that in their world, promises were fragile things. We'll need to be careful, she said, even more careful than before. I'll assign a detail to you personally, Jungkook said. My best people, 24/7 protection. And we'll keep this quiet as long as possible. They managed to keep the pregnancy secret for 4 months. Amanda wore loose clothing, avoided public events, and let Jungkook handle most of the face-to-face meetings. It was claustrophobic and frustrating, but she'd learned patience. When they finally announced it to their organization, the reaction was mixed. Some were genuinely happy for them. Others saw it as an opportunity or a weakness to exploit. The baby makes you vulnerable, one of their advisors said bluntly. Once it's born, you'll have given your enemies a permanent target. Then we'll make sure they're too afraid to take the shot, Amanda replied coolly. And that's exactly what they did. Over the next 5 months, as Amanda's pregnancy progressed, she and Jungkook systematically eliminated every potential threat. Not with violence, they'd learned that violence just bred more violence, but with diplomacy, strategic alliances, and when necessary, ruthless economic warfare. By the time Amanda went into labor, the Kim family was the most powerful and most stable criminal organization in Seoul. Their enemies had been neutralized or absorbed. Their allies were numerous and loyal. They'd built something that might actually last. The labor was long and difficult. Amanda spent 18 hours in pain, squeezing Jungkook's hand hard enough to bruise, before their daughter finally entered the world with a furious wail. "She's perfect," the doctor said, placing the tiny, squirming bundle in Amanda's arms. Amanda looked down at her daughter's face and felt something inside her chest break open. This tiny person, this perfect combination of her and Jungkook, was counting on them to keep her safe, to give her a life worth living. "Hello, little one," Amanda whispered. "Welcome to the world." Jungkook was crying, actually crying, tears streaming down his face as he looked at his wife and daughter. What should we name her? They'd discussed names, of course, but hadn't settled on anything. Now, looking at her daughter's serious little face, Amanda knew. "Miji," she said. "After the little girl we saved at the Gala, the one who reminded us why we're doing all this." Jungkook nodded, his throat too tight for words. He reached out to touch his daughter's tiny hand, and her fingers wrapped around his thumb with surprising strength. "Hey, Miji," he said softly. "I'm your dad, and I promise you, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you grow up in a better world than the one your mum and I inherited." Make sure you're subscribed, because part 3 is going to show you what happens when Amanda and Jungkook try to be parents while running a criminal empire. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Hit that like button and comment what you think baby Minji's life will be like. The first few months of parenthood were a blur of sleepless nights and constant anxiety. Every noise made Amanda's hand go to the gun she kept in the nightstand. Every stranger who looked at Minji's stroller too long made Jungkook's security detail tense up. But slowly, carefully, they found their rhythm. Amanda learned to balance being a mother with being a crime lord. Jungkook discovered he could be terrifying in a meeting and then go home and sing lullabies to his daughter. They were still the same people who'd survived assassination attempts and hostile takeovers. But now they were also parents who panicked when Minji's temperature went up half a degree. "This is harder than running an empire," Jungkook said one night, after finally getting Miji to sleep. Amanda laughed quietly. "Way harder. At least with the empire, we can threaten people into compliance." "We could try that with her," Jungkook suggested, then winced when Amanda smacked his arm. "Don't even joke about that," Amanda said. "She's going to grow up knowing she's loved, not feared." "Can she be both?" Jungkook asked seriously. Amanda thought about that. In their world, love and fear were often intertwined, but maybe, just maybe, they could give their daughter something different. "She'll be respected," Amanda decided. "She'll be strong, but she'll also know that real strength comes from choosing kindness when you could choose cruelty." "You're going to be an amazing mother," Jungkook said, pulling Amanda against him. "We're going to be amazing parents," Amanda corrected. "Together." As Miji grew from infant to toddler, the Kim organization continued to evolve. They'd moved even more operations into legitimate businesses, using their criminal profits to fund everything from tech startups to real estate developments. It was still dirty money, but at least now it was being cleaned and used to create jobs and opportunities. "In another generation," Amanda said one day, watching their 3-year-old daughter play in their secured garden, "maybe the Kim family will be completely legitimate." "Maybe," Jungkook agreed, "though I suspect there will always be some darkness in our foundation." "Then we teach her to be the light," Amanda said simply. Little Miji looked up from her toys and ran to them, throwing her arms around both their legs. "Mommy, Daddy, watch me!" She proceeded to perform an elaborate dance that consisted mostly of spinning in circles and falling down dramatically. Amanda and Jungkook applauded like she'd just performed at the opera. "You're amazing, baby," Amanda said, scooping her daughter up. "I know," Miji said seriously, making both parents laugh. That night, after Miji was asleep, Amanda and Jungkook sat on their balcony like they had so many times before. The city spread out below them, full of lights and life and endless possibility. "Do you ever regret it?" Amanda asked quietly. "Marrying me? Everything that came after?" Jungkook took her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. "Every day," he said. And when Amanda's breath caught, he continued, "I regret that you had to suffer, that you lost your innocence, your friends from your old life, your first child. I regret every moment of pain this world has inflicted on you." "But," Amanda prompted. "But I don't regret us," Jungkook said firmly. "I don't regret fighting beside you, building this life with you, creating our daughter. You've made me better than I ever thought I could be, Amanda. You've given me something worth protecting beyond power and territory." Amanda leaned her head on his shoulder. "You saved me too, you know. Not from your world. You threw me right into the deep end of that. But you saved me from disappearing, from being erased. You made me matter." "You always mattered," Jungkook said. "I just helped you see it." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city they'd conquered together. It wasn't the ending Amanda had imagined when she'd been dragged to the altar a little over 2 years ago. It wasn't perfect or clean or safe, but it was theirs. They'd built it together, survived it together, and now they were raising their daughter in it together. "What do you think happens next?" Amanda asked eventually. Jungkook smiled. "More of the same. More challenges, more enemies, more late nights and hard choices, but also more moments like this, more watching Miji grow up, more building the life we want instead of accepting the one we were given." "Sounds exhausting," Amanda said. "It will be," Jungkook agreed, "but we've handled worse." Amanda thought back to everything they'd been through: the forced marriage, the assassination attempts, the pregnancy losses, and the violent births, the wars and the peace and the constant grinding work of staying alive and staying human in a world that wanted to destroy both. They had handled worse. They'd survived it all. Together. "Yeah," Amanda said, squeezing Jungkook's hand. "We have." From inside the house, they heard Miji crying out from a nightmare. Both parents were on their feet instantly, moving to comfort their daughter. This was their life now, balancing empire building with parenting, power with love, darkness with the desperate hope that their daughter might know more light than they ever had. It wasn't the ending. It was barely even a pause. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats, new impossible choices. But tonight, as Amanda held her daughter and felt Jungkook's arms around them both, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, they'd won the only war that really mattered. The war to stay themselves, to stay together, to stay human. And as Minji's tears turned to giggles, as Jungkook sang off key and Amanda joined in, as their family huddled together in the darkness like a fortress against the world, Amanda realized something profound. She wasn't the girl who'd been sold anymore. She wasn't even just a survivor. She was Amanda Kim, wife, mother, queen of Seoul's underworld. And she'd earned every single title through blood and tears and sheer stubborn refusal to break. This was her life. This was her family. This was her empire. And she'd burn the whole world down before she let anyone take it from her. If you made it all the way to the end, you're the real MVP. Drop a comment telling me what you thought of Amanda's transformation from victim to queen. Should there be a part 3 about Miji growing up? Let me know. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next story. Until next time, remember, sometimes the best revenge is becoming too powerful to need it.